Konnichiwa minasan. Watashi no namae wa Jorge desu. Watashi wa Mekichiko Yin desu. Sukoshi nihongo o hanashu koto ga dekimasu. Keredomo, eigo o hanashimasu. Sumimasen. Hello to everyone. My name is Jorge Carmona. My colleague, Jose Luis, and I come from Mexico. We both work at the National Commission for Human Rights, which is the national ombudsman headed by Luis Raúl González Pérez. The National Commission is a public institution, autonomous from the government, and it is in charge of protecting human rights all over the country, with the individual, dealing with individual and collective complaints, and to address the authorities to the proper recommendation to redress the victims. As you might know, in September 1985, occurred a major earthquake in Mexico City. It caused a lot of material damages and cost thousands of human lives. 32 years after, the very same date, against all odds, a new major earthquake struck not only Mexico City, but also its surroundings and several regions, most of them habitated by the poorest sectors of Mexican population. This time, it took more than 400 human lives. So our reflections here come from an actual and yet painful experience. To make our point clear, let's imagine that just after the disaster occurred, the provisions and humanitarian support provided do not reach the most affected victims. Let's say on the grounds on discrimination basis. To prevent a negative situation as such, it is necessary to adopt a human rights perspective to face a disaster and its impact on human beings, not only for the government, but also all the stakeholders in DRR. There emerged the link between civil protection and human rights. What is civil protection? Civil protection involves the study of politics and the institutional body that is responsible of the intervention in the case of a disaster in matters of prevention, recovery, reconstruction, and attention. What is the human rights approach to civil protection? Civil protection must be planned and carried out accordingly to a human rights perspective in all the ways, which means that law, programs, application of such, and in general the applicability of civil protection must focus the activities and decisions in such manner that human dignity always prevails over any other purpose, objective, or course of action. Now, let's say something about human dignity. What is dignity? An inherent and universal value of all human beings, as it belongs to every person as an innate through all her or his life, any time, any place, no matter the circumstances and despite any situation or consideration. As it has been established in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Accordingly, the Mexican Federal Constitution states that every person shall be entitled to the human rights enshrined within the Constitution, and those who the international treaties ratified by the Mexican state established, as well as to the remedies for the protection of these rights. All nations have a provision alike in their own constitution. As an example, we found it in Article 12 of the Japanese Constitution. Why is so relevant this state's responsibility? because no matter that in most cases the first response to the major disaster comes from the population, Mexico's recent earthquake gave a clear example of that, the main responsibility to procure an adequate civil protection in case of a disaster lies undoubtedly in the government. Besides, the government fulfills another main task, that is to provide a network in order to join in the proper direction the efforts coming from the private sector, namely NGOs and enterprises, as well as the help provided by international actors. Trust, transparency, and information are key issues in this regard. So, in order to observe such human dignity in the activity of the government, it is imperative to consider the socially vulnerable groups according to some of the common factors. Factors like age, sex, capacities, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and rural degree. All these factors have to be taken into consideration in designing public policies for prevention, response, and post-disaster recovery. Now, about the specific human rights respect, protection, and promotion shall be fulfilled through the principles of universality, interdependence, indivisibility, and progressivity. When talking about civil protection, the human rights perspective involves specific human rights such as right to food, health, healthy environment, healthy, acceptable, and affordable water supply, adequate housing, culture, education, and worthy and useful work. The three government levels in Mexico, federal, state, and municipal, and the three power branches, namely executive, legislative, and judiciary, must fulfill their duties according to a human rights perspective to make possible the DRR. The role of the ombudsperson here is of the utmost importance, for sometimes is the voice of those who can be heard otherwise. In these situations, the participation of the civil society in civil protection strategies is crucial and should be accepted and recognized by the authorities. For us, at the National Public Human Rights Institution, the Bosai Forum has been so far a major opportunity of widening our perspectives with the several approaches and contributions made from various disciplines. We are sure that beneath all participants and organizations' efforts lay a common aim, that is to relieve human suffering and help each other in dramatic adverse situations. Thank you very much. Domo arigato gozaimashita.